can enjoy the song Sheep Sharing.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 2022 Queensland Women Week celebration at Robertson Garden, hosted by Universal Education and Multicultural Exchange Association, or UEMEA, and also Queensland Community Development Association, or QCDA. The theme for 2022 Queensland Women Week is to keep making noise. The theme is about celebration of women's contribution and achievement, simultaneously recognizing that there is still more to be done to achieve gender equality. My name is Lee. I'm your MC today. For housekeeping, the ladies and gents toilet are on the right near the bar. If there's a fire, please follow the nearest exit sign. I appreciate if you can turn off your mobile phone or turn to silent mode. Ladies and gentlemen, can I start by acknowledging a few dignitaries here. The host, Chen, the president of UEMEA. Richard Huang, the president of QCDA. Perrett MP, the federal member for Modern and Shadow Assistant Minister for Education. Thank you for your sponsorship. Councillor Kim Marx, the City Cabinet Chair of City Council, City Standard, and also the Councillor for Rangoon Ward. And Councillor Stephen Huang will be coming soon. Auntie Peggy have a daughter coming along, Sherry Miranda. Where is Sherry Miranda? And then we have Surrender Prasad, the president of the Fijian Senior Citizen Association. He's hosting a fundraising event for the Tonga and also Queensland Flood, a multicultural hub on the 25th of March. $50 per person, isn't it? We are free here. Yours is $50. Go to see him, support him. This is on Friday, 25th of March. Can I also acknowledge Susila Prasad from the Hindu Society of Queensland, also the partner of Surrender Prasad. The one who just coming is Councillor Stephen Huang, the Deputy Chair for the Finance and City Government, also the Councillor for McGregor Ward. Can I acknowledge Grace Yu, the Secretary General of the Queensland Federation of Taiwanese Association. Thanks for your sponsorship. Where's Grace Yu? Thank you. Can I acknowledge Peter John, the President of the Sunnybank Rotary Satellite Club of Sunnybank Hills. He will be hosting a Rotary Multicultural Festival at Mulgrave Showground on the 6th of August. Isn't it? From 10 to 3:30, from memory anyway. Simon Tan, the President of the Australian Queensland Foodkin Association. Tira Patinja, the President of the Australian Indonesian Welfare and Culture Association. Saeed Shoaib Jani, the President of Australian Pakistan National Association. Yumex Shoaib from the Australian Pakistan National Association and partner of Saeed Shoaib Jani. Party Huang, the Senior Police Liaison Officer. Ken Ron, the Senior Police Liaison Officer. Also Abiba Andria, the African Youth Council Coordinator, African Youth Center Manager. But as a matter of fact, she's a recipient for the Youth Award and Community Volunteer Recognition Award from Senator Boscan and the Honourable Jason Wood, which is 2 nights ago, the 10th of March 2022. Congratulations, Abiba. Anita Huang, the Vice President of the Australian Taiwanese Chamber of Commerce, and also the Managing Director of MIA, and also Joyce Education Academy. Thanks for your sponsorship. Jessie Hong, the Principal of MIA, and also thanks for her sponsorship. Celine Shi, the Executive President of the ACCEP. Celine Shi here. She is the President of Australian China Cultural and Economic Promotion Association. Catherine Lee, the Secretary General of the APSCA, the Australia Pacific Science Association, and also the Secretary General of ACETP, the Australian China Economic and Trade Promotion. James Joe, the Director of Australasia Petroleum and Energy Resources. Thanks for your sponsorship of the Raffle Prize. Edison, the Secretary of the Queensland Community Development Association. And James Ing, the founding member for the Sunnybank Rotary Satellite Club of Sunnybank Hills. Peggy Fang, the prominent Guzheng performer. That Guzheng is a meter long with 21 strings. Good on you, Peggy. And can I have Jane Wang, the Secretary of UEMEA and SUMA, a recipient of, by the way, a recipient of 2022 Local Legend Award, which will be announced on Monday. It's coming Monday. Congratulations. And Bing Yao, the Director from the Around the World Migration and Education and part of UEMEA team. And Dong Dong, the Secretary of the Fenghua Opera to Pay, one of the to pay from the opera. And Chai Ho, the partner from Accent Lawyer from the Lions Club Brisbane Chinese. Jia Beiji, the solicitor from the Rusu Lawyers. Cruz Wang from the Union team. Susie Choi, the Vice President of the Korean Society of Queensland. Sasha Marine, she's not here, the advisor to Grant Perrett. Teresa Du, a prominent Vietnamese community leaders. Gandhi Wichusama, the Damini Women Association of Queensland. Now I would like to invite Auntie Peggy Titeman to do the acknowledgement of the country. Auntie Peggy is from Mitchell. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Auntie Peggy Titeman.
In my traditional language, Gungriva language, that is hello and welcome. Thank you very much, Lewis, for that introduction. I won't be able to repeat all of those names and titles, but I will rely on Lewis to do that. But I want to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we've gathered here today. I acknowledge the Yagara people, also acknowledging the Jagara and Yugarapu people, whose lands extend all the way out to the foothills of the Toowoomba Range, and then we go back down towards the Logan River. And this area is pretty significant because when you look at the Mount Gravatt lookout, before Europeans arrived here, this was a very significant place for the groups, the clans that inhabited this area. And the Mount Gravatt lookout, when they saw the layout of the land, it reminded them of a porcupine. So the totem for this area is the porcupine. In my language, we call it makbara. So, and these are some of the things that are very significant to the traditional owners of this land here. So I want to acknowledge them and acknowledge the history and the long relationship that they have had with this part of the country. I also want to acknowledge pay my respects to our elders past, present and emerging. And I acknowledge elders of all different cultures. So I'm just looking around the room now and I can see people of many different cultural backgrounds. And so just as you would in your culture, it's about acknowledging our elders and the people that have come before us, who've laid the groundwork basically for us, but also we follow their legacy that they've left behind for us. And also, as an elder, I must acknowledge sorry business. And it is a time when we remember the loved ones that we have lost. So in our family, we have had sorry business, and it's something that it happens far too often in our communities, but also acknowledge that the many cultural groups that have significant cultural practices and beliefs around the time when they have lost a loved one. Also, just to acknowledge that at the moment we see a lot of tragedy happening right around the globe, and the suffering and the pain that a lot of people are experiencing at the moment. I think that we also must extend, our supports, our condolences to the many people. And you only have to look at what's on our television in the morning or at night time to know that this is worldwide. It's not just something that we occasionally see, it is worldwide. I also want to acknowledge that my daughter is here with me today. So a young elder, a young person who is actually learning. This is what we do when we have elders in the community. It's about the learning process and the cultural information that we share with our young people. And today is very significant because my daughter's with me here today, and it is about celebration. It's about International Women's Day, but it's also about Queensland Women's Week. And I think it's very appropriate that, being able to share my words with you today about what it is for me as a First Nations descendant. So I come from a small place called Mitchell. Lewis has been there. Have you been there?
No, haven't been there.
He bypassed
St. George.
he bypassed where I live, or where I was born, and he went to a place called St. George. That's my grandmother's birthplace. And Graham, I want to acknowledge you, that is also part of your story. But I also acknowledge that I have other cultural heritage. And on my father's side, my great-grandmother is Chinese. And so in the early days, there were lots of our people, Aboriginal women and men, that had relationships with other cultures. And so my great-grandmother on my father's side is Chinese. And also I acknowledge my mother's people, who are Afghani. And so my grandfather came from Afghanistan way back in the 1800s and settled here, not knowing that whether he would return to his homelands, and so he had a family here. So I'm very proud of my cultural heritage. But I identify as Dungri, and First Nations, because this is where I was born. I'm born on this land. And for me, that is something that's very, very important, knowing who I am and where I come from. So being a Gunguri woman, I think that the theme for the Queensland Women's Week is very appropriate. So it says, you know, the theme is keep making noise. I come from a matriarchal society, so I feel very empowered, and I think that's what it is about. It's about empowering our women, and it's women of all ages, to be able to speak up, stand up, and be heard. And it's important in this century that we encourage our women to break through some of those barriers, you know, the glass ceiling, as they say. And we see a lot of our women doing that. I want to acknowledge all of the dignitaries that are here, and I think I do probably know most of you, but for those of you that I haven't met before, it's a privilege to be here with you today. And you know, for International Women's Day about gender equality today for a suitable, sustainable tomorrow, I think that message is very important. But what can we do? I mean, for me as a First Nations woman, I'm an elder in the community, but I recently took on a voluntary role as an elder advisor to the Queensland Women's Health Network. And that's about listening to the voices of our women right across this state. It's not only just about this state, but it's about women right across the country, regardless of where your cultural identity comes from, because we're all sisters. I've got a few sisters here. Put your hand up if you're my sister. So we are sisters and brothers, and I want to say thank you to Alan and Richard for the opportunity to come here today and just say a few words today and share that with you. So thank you very much and enjoy the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie Peggy Tiedemann, for your acknowledgement of the country. We're always confused by welcome to the country, acknowledgement of the country. There is a difference. As Auntie Peggy Tiedemann is from Mitchell, so this country is good Jagra country, right? So Jagra country, those people from Jagra country can do welcome to country. So next time, if you do a program, if you ask Auntie Peggy, it should be. Ladies and gentlemen, next I would like to invite the host, Richard Huang, the president of the Queensland Community Development Association, to do the welcoming speech. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Richard Huang.
Thank you, Luis. I'm here to welcome every VIP official and also all the great women and friends to attend our celebration today. This is our first Women's Day celebration, and very lucky we got so many people here to supporting us and to celebrate together. And we wish everyone will be enjoy the celebration today. Does anyone know how long normally take to prepare a celebration? Long time? Long time. Normally a few months, 2 months, 3 months, 1 month to make the very fast already. But because lucky we have a super Luis having all the preparation, so we get it done in 2 weeks. And also get all the confirmation from every VIP cases here. Also, does everyone know that this is International Women's Day, International Women's Week celebration. So it's been celebrated by a few different organizations already, and mostly it's been hosted by women. But I think this is the right way that the men to host it to celebrate for women. So people say that every successful man has a great woman behind. So it shouldn't be women celebrate themselves. That should be men to celebrate for them. Okay, to invite them to celebrate together. And there's Mother's Day for women already. But other than that, they are helping in so many ways. So this is a very great celebration for Women's Day. But unfortunately, I don't have I don't remember the people's celebration Men's Day or International Men's Week or something like that.
Yeah.
So
19th of November.
so hopefully 19th of November to remind you, if anyone interested to host that and celebrate with every successful woman, there's a great man behind. And hope everyone enjoyed the celebration today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. It is right. The International Men's Day is on the 19th of November. It's not very popular in Brisbane here on the south side. So this coming year, I think someone should host that. QCDA and UEMEA, the ladies should host that for you. Ladies and gentlemen, next I want to address from the Perrett MP, the federal member for Moreton, also the Shadow Assistant Minister for Education. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Perrett MP.
Thank you very much, Lewis, and could I also acknowledge the traditional owners and thank them for their strong and continuing stewardship. And Auntie Peggy, as always, you're welcome. Your acknowledgement of country, sorry, Lewis, is always very compelling. To the elected representatives, Kim and Stephen, to all of the community leaders that are here today, thank you for the chance to say a few words in terms of celebrating International Women's Day, Women's Week in Queensland, and obviously to echo that theme of continuing to make noise. I say that because we don't make change unless we make noise. We know that it will take a long time to have true equality. I remember being here with Australia's first female Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, and how she opened a door in terms of political achievements. I'm sure Kim is on the way to being a future Lord Mayor of Brisbane. No? Not announcing it today, Stephen. But we need to continue to make noise. And I'm going to particularly call out a phenomenon that occurs in Australia. We're a country of nearly 26 million people, about 1.3 million people from the Chinese diaspora. Whether that be from Malaysia, China, Taiwan, Singapore, wherever. Yet we do not have enough involvement from the Asian community, Stephen Wang aside. I'm sure Stephen would agree with this in the political process. I'm sure Stephen would like you to join his party, I'd like you to join my party, join whatever party, but we need more people to be involved. And I particularly want to speak to the women in the room today, on this day. There is you've heard of a glass ceiling? Well, there's something in Australia called the bamboo ceiling, where people are not stepping up. And politics is hard. We know that it's hard. Kim would attest, Stephen would attest. It's hard for families, hard for personal relationships. I see Kim more than I see my wife. It's just a reality. Politics is hard, but we need people to step up. So that's my call to the women in the room today, to step up and make noise in terms of the political process. Whatever team, whatever party you decide to go with, but make noise. And thank you for being a chance to be here today, Richard and Alan, in terms of UEMEA's celebrations of International Women's Week. And I'm sure next year, I don't think you need to celebrate International Men's Day, I'm just putting that out there. But next year, I'm sure we'll have even more female speakers to be a part of today. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Graham Perrett, MP, the federal member for Moreton. Ladies and gentlemen, next I would like to invite Councillor Kim Marx, the Civic Cabinet Chair of City Standard and Councillor for Rangoon. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Councillor Kim Marx.
I swear I really dislike having my photo taken, and that's exactly why. Look, thank you, Lewis. As always, we begin by acknowledging the traditional owners on the land in which we meet, elders past, present and emerging. Auntie Peggy as always does a magnificent acknowledgement. I always learn something, so now I've learned about the Mount Perrett Outlook, which was really interesting. So porcupine, I'll remember that one. Lewis, as always, does a magnificent job of acknowledging everyone in the room and all their titles. I'm not sure how he does it, but he does a very, very good job. Obviously, my fellow elected reps here, Graham, thank you for those kind words, and Stephen. Yeah, look, this year, what can I say? These last 3 years, this year, really, we thought it was going to all get back to normal, and it's just been crazy. Brisbane's, as you can imagine, is undergoing one of its biggest disasters we've had. We're suggesting it's 2011 plus. Part of my portfolio is waste. So my job is to clean up the city, which, as you can imagine, is a pretty intimidating and potentially the biggest challenge of my career. Just now, when Graham was talking about the women and the roles and leadership and stuff like that, I actually made me thought back to a meeting I just had on Thursday, where I know that Lord Mayor Adrian Schooner has always said that our team has 50% female, 50% male, and it's never really, like, it didn't resonate with me or anything like that. But on Thursday morning, myself, the Deputy Mayor, Krista Adams, and another Chair, Tracy Davis, Chair of Environment, Parks and Sustainability, were holding a meeting. So we walked into a room and the 3 male managers were sitting there waiting for us 3 female leaders, can I use that word, to enter the room. They could then tell us what they had been doing and how they were managing what they needed to manage. I didn't think of anything too much at the time, but when Graham mentioned that just now, it makes me think back, and I thought, yeah, it's actually quite true, and it's quite powerful. It's very easy to get very overwhelmed, but also let it go to your head, which I think is something that we try and be very grounded, and certainly our colleagues keep us that way, and the community keeps you grounded. You know, you sort of think that you're kind of up here doing something really, really special, and someone mentions, says, can you fix my potholes? So you know, that brings you back to the level. But that's what we're here for. I've mentioned, a few people are realising that it's my 10th anniversary coming up next week. In a couple of weeks' time. It's scary. 10 years is a long time in this job. It's a tough gig, and as Graham said, before Graham I had Duncan. I spent way more nights with Duncan than I ever did with my own husband. So I miss Duncan terribly. And obviously James has now become my new second husband. Graham's my federal husband, so look, yeah, and you guys I consider my family. I see you so often, so I just want to thank you, and I think the thank you for UEMEA for taking the time to organise something for the women in the community. I think we all do a good job, and I think Annie would recognise exactly what Richard was saying. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kim Marx. Ladies and gentlemen, next speaker is Councillor Stephen Huang. Stephen Huang is the Deputy Chair of the Finance and City Governance Committee. He is also the Councillor for McGregor Ward. Actually, I see more Stephen than my wife too. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Councillor Stephen Wang, because we just had the Taekwondo tournament at the Springfield this morning.
Thank you, Louis. I must start by echoing what Kim was saying. I hate these photos, especially when you see double chins on the photo. That's why the campaign photo, election photo, they've been chosen for a purpose. They don't show double chin on your face. But I also start by acknowledging the traditional custodian of the land on which we gather, and pay my respect to elders, Auntie Peggy, and also the elder to be, your daughter. and also elders from the community. So yeah, when Auntie Peggy still here talk about women face these glass ceilings and barriers, and honestly that's a concept I didn't get for quite some time. I struggle to understand. But the reason being, for those people who know me and my family, would know that my mother was more like a strong businesswoman, tiger woman. I wouldn't call her tiger mother. She actually never checked on my studies, but she's always pretty tough in her business, in her career, in community services. So when I was a kid, I always thought, man is the inferior gender. So that's why I struggle. And my mother, she has 7 sisters. They've got 8 sisters altogether. And most of my aunties, they are very capable, women. And like senior executives, and yeah. So since I was a kid, I always thought, gee, women are doing much better than men. And this role is like fair to men. So on this Women's Week, I think, I think of course, I now realize that there are gender equalities in the society. But I think it is important that we understand gender equality is not a political slogan, right? It's something in our life. It's a social value that we should sort of uphold and endeavor to achieve. And look, as Richard says, there's every successful man, there's a woman behind him, or women.
Is that what? Really?
Yeah.
Is there many women behind you?
Well, you can like 2 staff in your office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But in my family, it's always behind a successful woman, it's always a man who's working behind the scene to make that woman successful. So I think in some way this world is still very very fair. But look, as someone who's been brought up in this environment, I was struggling to say this, but if we can keep in this room, I'll just conclude by my speech by saying, look, I'm comfortable having women on top. That's fine. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stephen Huang. Now we got 3 panel ladies speaker. First is Abiba Andria. Abiba Andria is the African Youth Council coordinator, also the African Youth Center manager. He is actually a recipient of Youth Growth and Community Volunteer Recognition Award from Senator Bosca and Honorable Jason Wood, which is 2 nights ago, on the 10th of March, 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Abiba Andria.
Is my voice loud enough? I don't like using the microphone. It's fine. All right. I also would like to pay respect to the men of me here, to the elders past, future, and emerging. Thank you for the introduction. So yes, my name is Abiba Andria. I'm currently the African Youth Support Council Coordinator and also the African Youth Center Manager. So just a bit about myself. So I was told to talk about my journey and whatnot. So I decided to actually write it down because I'm more of a free speaker, but I tend to kind of like swerve off a little bit. So to keep me on track and also with time as well. So firstly, I came to Australia in 2001 through Ethiopia refugee camp with my family of 8 after fleeing the civil war in South Sudan that happened in 1995. My family and I lost everything, including all of our properties and also some family members. I've always had a passion for community and helping wherever I can. The journey I came from, I understand the struggles and the sacrifice my family and I had to go through to get here. And I am sure that many and more similar stories are out there. Silence is the biggest interception of moving forward because it has a lot of blockage. It blocks ways to move forward and make change. I decided to do what I do because I didn't want my silence to be the reason why I can't make a difference. I didn't want my fear of being a woman in the 21st century to hold me back from speaking about things that is affecting me personally and the community that I work for. Half of the roles and responsibilities, it's a fear in my community because as a woman and also someone being very young, it's actually considered forbidden. Women can't take charge. But I didn't allow my silence and fear from me ensuring that the young people that I work with and those that look up to me to be fully supported and advocated be stopped. Working in the youth space, not only a youth space that agency that is general, but also working with young people that I have looked up to, that also looked up to me, has given me the opportunity to use my experience, my skills to empower and motivate young women who always doubted their capabilities to make change. I learned that the more that I allowed negative thoughts and negative comments towards me feed into my head, I too became negative about myself and told myself I could never do it. I strongly believe we need more women in those round tables of decision makings. In some cases where there isn't, we women need to make our own round tables. It's not just a national understanding, but a global understanding that changes can be implemented effectively without women's political participation and inclusion. So as a woman, we are not seen as just exceptions. We already are strong and hold a lot of resilience and strength. But it's us but it's the way that the society perceives that and how that change and strength is being perceived. You know, I grew up always wanting to always feel like, I grew up, most of my siblings, I'm actually not the oldest, I've got older brothers who always felt like, because the responsibility of my household where I come from, women are meant to only be at home. Women are only meant to clean, women are meant to, they're not allowed to work actually. You know, so if back in Africa, if I was there, what I'm doing now, I could actually go to jail for it. But as obviously the theme today is allowing those voices to be heard. And I think it's very important, not just for us here in the community where we can have that opportunity to actually engage and learn. I think it's also important to actually use that skills and use those experiences back home and actually allow women, not even just women, but the general population back home to have that opportunity to see that, you know, it doesn't matter how old you are or, you know, how far you've come, there is always a path and an opportunity to make that change. So I just wanted to just chuck that out and, you know, send that message.
Thank you, Abiba, for sharing your amazing story. Ladies and gentlemen, next we would like to invite Wang. Chen is the Secretary of SUMA, the Southside United Multicultural Association, also the Secretary of UEMEA, which is Universal Education and Multicultural Exchange Association Incorporated. She is also an accounting graduate and law graduate. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Wang.
Thanks, Luis. Hello, everyone. I'm very honored and grateful to given the opportunity to share with you my feeling and experience of participating in community works and activities. A few years ago, I began to participate in community events and learn multicultural exchange activities, trying to spare as much time as possible to make some contribution to the local community cultural exchange. Simultaneously studying for the law degree, I still participate in the organization and the arrangement of community activities. I participate in a few community activities, including some memorial ceremony held by Sunny Bank ISL and Australia's of Chinese Heritage War Memorial Community, such as Anzac Day, Remembrance Day, and the rededication of War Memorial. At that time, I saw Lee OAM, chairman of Australia of Chinese Heritage War Memorial Community, and the members of the association and members of Sunny Bank ISL sub-branch hard work and contribution to the success of each and every event. I pick up some experience and learn from them. I'm also the secretary of UEMEA Association. To date, I participate in the 5 times of Australia citizenship ceremony successfully hosted by UEMEA Association, which welcomed and witnessed total 250 new citizens join Australia, a multicultural family. I also participate in the 3 keynote speech and several topic forums hosted by UEMEA Association. This activity invited me invite member of government and the department minister to participate. These guests not only gave keynote speeches, but also answered the question of community representative who participated in the activities. They helped small business and community group to solve different problems and gave informative suggestions. Because I'm a secretary of youth association, I'm honored to take part in this activity all the time, and I'm a volunteer in the preparation and the set of each activity. After each activity, I also participate in the production of media report, such as WeChat official page, which enable to share this meaningful activity with more people, let more people know, and join our volunteer team, and make greater contributions to the development and harmony of multicultural communities. We all participated in the activity of UEMEA. I also joined the Southside United Multicultural Association and served as the secretary of SUMA. I'm also the member of Rotary Club, a non-profit organization. In this different association, I can feel and see different ways of doing things from different places, so that I can learn practical and useful knowledge and skills from the more different aspects. This knowledge and skill also helped me to study in law and solve many problems in my internship. During the period of law degree, although there is a lot of homework and limited spare time, I try my best to use all available time to participate in these activities, to promote multicultural exchange. The success of each event has brought me rich experience in social practice and a sense of honor to contribute to society. I will continue to work hard. Finally, I hope all you at the venue can continue to support us and participate in the multicultural activities of our association. I hope all you will help me and make me grow up to better and become a useful person to society. Thank you again for your precious time to listen to my experience and feeling. Thank you all.
Very impressive story to share with us. Thank you, Jane. Ladies and gentlemen, next speaker is Grace Yu. Grace is the Secretary General of the Queensland Federation of Taiwanese Association. She is also the past president of the Australian Taiwanese Chamber of Commerce, now the honorary president of AATCCQ. Ladies and gentlemen, Grace Yu, please.
Thank you, Louis. Good afternoon, dear brothers and sisters. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell you my migrant story today. And actually, I migrated to Australia in 1992 as a family migrants, business migrants to here. And I tried to find a university to study in Australia. So in 1994 is a changing year of my life. In that year beginning, I got married. And the same year, my daughter was born. And also, after my daughter was born, I back to Griffith University for my study. And then, I continued at that time as a mother, as a wife, as a businesswoman as well. And how can I balance between family and business? That is a challenge. In 1997 is also a memorable year for me. My son was born, and that year I graduated from my study in Griffith University. And then that is the time I become 2 children of mother, and also a full-time businesswoman. So I was challenging between 2 children and also trying to establish my business without any family sponsor or any financial sponsor from my parents. But I tried hard. And then in 2013, thank you for letting me, because I have this time to go back to 20 years memory of my photos. And then to,
You haven't changed a bit.
yeah, that is 2002.
Wow.
We start my business, and I actually start from my business in 1994 at home in California. And then in 2002, I actually moved to Times Square. And then at that time, I start to my business, and then I have to pay rent, pay staff. At the same year, I started another business called Grace Education College, which is tutoring for the high school students. We have over 200 students studying in my college. And then that is the year I start to my business journal. So my business starting to Grace Education College, and we start in the daytime. I'm on Grace Education Consultancies, counseling students for international study, students study in all the institutions in Australia. In the evening, I tutoring. I'm a principal of the college, to helping all the high school kids come to my college and for the tutoring course. 2004, I start to open my second office in the city office. And in 2005, I started to have a delegation to the UEMEA office to Chongqing for the sister city, with signing the memory of the sister city is with Chongqing. And then 2005, we start Taipei office, third office open. 2006, my Gold Coast office open. You can see in the 3 years, I developed for 4 offers for Grace Education. And then we signed in a MOU with the 3 universities in Taiwan, with James Cook University at that time. And then you can see we start very busy. I put all my effort into my business. But life is not that easy. I lose the balance from the family and business. So from 2006, 7, you can see my business keep developing. I was traveling between 4 offices and traveling between Taiwan and China. And I have too much traveling. I lose balance to my family with 2 young kids. Then finally, I lose my marriage. So in 2011, my daughter is in year 12 at QA. And then finally, we got divorced from my ex-husband, because he would like to move his new life. He felt I'm too busy. I'm, always have a big ambitions. I really want to, and then he left home, and then he find a new life. But leave the 2 children with me, they are young. And then at that time, my son cried. And at that time, when I receiving a fatal code requirement for the divorce, I checked it, he didn't ask for the, to supervise for the children. I'm happy I signed. And then that's the new life begin for me as a single mother. At that time, my son cried. He said, "Mom, am I doing any wrong? Why they doesn't want us?" And then I cried and holding 2 children together. I told them, "My dear lovely children, you done nothing wrong. That's adult's life. In the future, when you grow up, you will know. You will understand. All you need to do is be good and try to be best, and then try to think positively." So at that time, I found my 2 children was hurting by the broken marriage. I started thinking about what is my life should be. Should I still continue developing? Because at that time I have an office, 4 offices. It didn't stop in me. But I'm thinking about I need to open another office in Taichung, another office in Tainan. Kaohsiung, Shenzhen, Chongqing, Shenyang, because all the sister city of Brisbane. Because I would like to follow the UEMEA to go to all the sister city to open a branch. That's my ambitions. But life is not like that. When I look back, my 2 children are hurting. They're crying. They need mom. They already lost their father. I can't be, leave them there for themselves. So I try to focus on the 4 office. Finally, I felt the teenage kids is not easy to management with a traveling overseas all the time. So I start to cutting the Taipei office and then cutting Gold Coast office, remain Sunnybank and City 2 office. Then I decide to stay home for my kids. I need to be a mother, they need me. And then I took crying so many times, my children. At that time, my son, he is a little bit negative and then because anger inside. So I can tell he is hurting. So I always hug him and then, until he sleep at night. I go to his bed and then I pray for him. I talk to him. And then I start become softer. Because in the daytime when I say something, he angry and then we fighting. Nothing happened. So until he sleep, I go to his bed and talk to him. Son, I love you. Why I feel this. And I tell him. After 1-2 years, continue 1 or 2 years, I found my son changed. He started to cover me. Until now, my 2 children, they are home.
Ding ding.
Before they go to bed, they will
time to be out. Great.
So you can see the 2011, we got the business. At the same time, I become, in a single mother, in a business. And then how can we challenging myself into a business and also for the 2 children. We got all the university recognition. And then in 2013, Taiwanese Festival and Grace Education are the major sponsor for the Education Expo. And also for Grace Education won the ATCCQ Business Award. And also, at that time, in 2015, I was appointed as a UEMEA Charitable Trust, ambassador of UEMEA Charitable Trust. And then I started devoting myself into the charity. And then that is
I'll give you another 30 seconds. Sorry about that. I'll give you another 30 seconds.
Okay, this is an LMCT and fundraising events, and also all the fundraising events, and yes, another fundraising event. Is my 2019 my inauguration for Taiwanese Chamber of Commerce for presidents. And also in 2019, I started building my Grace Education building.
10 seconds.
And, and then Grace Education opened in 2020, March. And also, and all the friends here, you probably participate. And then Taiwanese Chamber of Commerce, we fundraising for selling the toilet paper. And ATCQ, we have a Christmas party. And also, Peter, thank you, Peter, always give us the recognition. And another event for fundraising for city public.
1 second.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much for everyone.
Great apologies. Because of time constraint, I think we should have another section with just Grace you alone. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sharing your spectacular story. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have Vera Petinja to perform the Indonesian traditional dance. I think I need volunteer to remove this in 1 second. Okay, music please. kasih, Vira Potenja, ini Vira Potenja, President of the Australian Indonesian Welfare and Culture Association. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the presentation of our awards. And I have Alan Chen, please. Alan Chen, if you can stand here. And I have Richard, you can stand here. Can I have Perrett? Can I have Kim Marx? Oh, can I have Kim Marx over here? Can I have Stephen Wang? Stephen over here. Can I have Surrender Prasad? Can I have Surrender Prasad over here? Can I have Auntie Peggy Teichman over here? That's it, first one. Okay. Who is the first one? Councillor Kim Max. In the center. Only this one. Yeah. That's Councillor Kim Max, the Cabinet Chair of City Standard, the Councillor for Runcorn Ward. Auntie Peggy Titan, the Kungari Elders, with her daughter. Auntie Peggy Titan first. Okay, look into the camera. Sherry, in the middle, yeah. Congratulations, Sherry. Sherry Miranda. I think Alan, you have a chance now. Stop with Richard, please. Grace E, the Secretary General of the Queensland Federation Paralympic Association. Richard, stop with Richard, please. The next one, who is next? Vira Potenja, the President of the Australian Indonesian Culture and Welfare Association. Terima kasih. Terima kasih is called thank you in Indonesian, bahasa Indonesian. Sama-sama. Usman Shahid from the Australian Pakistani National Association. Congratulations. Next one. Perrett Huang, the Senior Police Liaison Officer for the Queensland Police Services at the Upper Margaret. Abiba, next one. Abiba Andria from the African Community Council. Queensland African Community Council, the youth manager. She got 2 awards in 2 weeks, in a week. Next one. Anita Wang, the Vice President of the Australian Paralympic Chamber of Commerce, also the Managing Director of MIA and Joint Education Academy. Thank you, Anita, for your sponsorship, double sponsorship. Jessie Huang, thank you for your sponsorship. Jessie, the Principal of MIA. Thank you, Jessie. We received the money last night, in the morning, by the way, because Richard sent the receipt around about 3:30 in the morning. Celine Shi. Celine is the Secretary General of ACCE, the Australian China Cultural and Economic Promotion Association. He's also one of the staffers for James Martin office. Susila Prasad. Susila Prasad is the partner of Surrender Prasad. She is the Queensland, from the Fijian Senior Citizen Association of Queensland. Lee, the Secretary of APSCA, the Australia Pacific Science Association, also the Secretary General ACETP, Australia China Economy and Trade Promotion Association. Congratulations. Annie Sun, the Secretary of the Queensland Community Development Association. Thank you, Annie. Annie will be hosting the International Men's Day on the 19th of November this year. For Richard Wang. Congratulations, Annie. Peggy Fang. Peggy is the one who actually performed the Guzhen. The Guzhen is a meter-long, 21 string. Very prominent Guzhen performance. A dong-dong, please. Dong-dong. Very popular, prominent women from Chinese, from mainland Chinese. We have a performance group. 恭喜你。Chai Ho, the lawyers, also from the Lions Club of Brisbane Chinese Incorporated. Congratulations. We specialize in family law. If you've got any problem with their divorce or anything like that, come to see her. A company is called Accent Lawyers. The partner is Accent Lawyers. Jia Bei Qi is also another solicitor from Rusu Lawyers. Jia Bei Qi is also specialized in criminal law and family law, I think. Susie Choi. Yeah, Victor? Yeah. Susie Choi is the Vice President of the Korean Society of Queensland. Susie Choi, congratulations. Thank you. I tried to get a phone number. Alan tried to get phone number from Susie and mobile and email from John Prescott. I think Alan never got that. Can I have Sasha Marine, please? Sasha is one of the staffer and Grand Talent. He used to work with the Department of Home Affairs. They called themselves in past called Department of Immigration. That is how I met her at Griffith University many years ago. Teresa Tu, a very prominent Vietnamese community leader. Teresa, nice to see you again. If you want any performance or any beauty stuff, come to see Teresa Tu. Gandhi Wicchasama, my good friend, Gandhi Wicchasama is an executive from the Tamini Women Association of Queensland. Very good friends of mine. Congratulations. Oh, Gandhi Wicchasama. Gandhi. Gandhi. Candy. Well done. And Jane Wang. Swap with Richard, Alan. Not very nice to do, yeah. Jane is the Secretary of SUMA and the Secretary of UEMEA, Universal Education and Multicultural Exchange, also the Secretary of the Southside United Multicultural Association. Who is next? Grant Perrett, okay. Grant Perrett, thank you for coming, thank you for your speeches, Grant. And thank you for your sponsoring. We hope you can sponsor next year too. Thank you. That is if you get elected. Councillor Stephen Huang. Stephen Huang, thank you for your sponsorship. Councillor Stephen Huang is the Deputy Chair of Finance and City Government, also the Councillor for McGregor Ward. Thank you, Stephen. As I say, Stephen was at the about 8:30 at the Springfield this morning at Taekwondo tournament, the second Korean Taekwondo competition or festival. That's it? Now we have the cake. Where's the cake? The ruffle. Ruffle first. If you can stay behind here, stay there. We just do the ruffle. Yeah, ask Alan to do the draw. First one, ask Alan first. No, ruffle soon. Have to be quick. We're running out of time. That's not important. Don't listen to him. What is the first number? So Richard, the second one. James, go to Richard.
James Joe.
Okay, James, so come along. Go to Richard. Richard, to the second row, please. Quick, you have 3 seconds. No, you. James Joe, Alan, you send that to James Joe. We got no time. Jane, can you ask Stephen what to do next row? Yes. Jane, Stephen, come please. Jia, Don, you are the winner, Don. And then keep up. Go around, keep up. Grace, you are the next winner. Look in the camera. Abiba, Andria. Quick. What is next one? Surrender. Susila Prasad. You are the lucky winner for the raffle. Have we got any more? Yeah. When we give out the certificate just now, I think Alan and Richard forgot to give you the flowers. So now, I want Alan and Richard, please give that to the ladies, please.
All the ladies get a certificate.
You only have 10 seconds to do that. Ken Wrong is the last. Ken Wrong, you are the lucky winner, please. Ken Wrong. Any more raffle? Okay. Flower for King and one for Stephen. Yeah, now you can take. Yeah. Apologies, just now we forgot to give you the flowers while we are presenting the certificate. But Alan, you're supposed to give half of it, and Richard will present half of it. I think you got more than half now, Alan. And can I have the cake? Get ready, cake? Yeah. Stay there, you do the cake. Bobby, fantastic. And Catherine. Any left over, you can give one to Stephen. We are cutting the cake right now. Can I have Abiba, Jane, and Grace come over in the middle to cut the cake? Our cake is missing. It's not here yet. But you can stand by to get ready. They are coming now. Come. By the way, this cake is sponsored by James Martin, the state member for Stratton. He wouldn't be able to attend, but he is kind enough to sponsor the cake. Okay. How long you turn around? It's better that way when you take photos. Turn around. Give one to Grant and give one to Stephen. We've got two left. One to Grant's wife and one to Stephen's girlfriend or Stephen's partner.
Give it to your wife.
Grant, come have a yes. Stand there. Can I have all the ladies with the flower come over and join in like that. You stand there. You three stand there. Cut the cake. Where's the knife? Yeah, over here, this side, please. No, here. Just stay out, yeah. Okay? Is all the ladies? Okay? Yeah, come.
Look at me. To your face.
Your hand, cane. Hold it. Like that. So, not right. Sasha. Can you see everybody? Stephen. Surrender, where are you?
I can see you. Oh, yeah, you got it.
Yeah, there you go. Sasha, come on. Richard.
Yeah, Richard.
Where's Alan Chen?
He's busy working.
Yeah. Okay.
Look at me. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I say 1, 2, 3. You say yeah.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please take a seat. We haven't finished yet. Please take a seat. Please take a seat. We haven't finished yet. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to ask Alan Chen, the host, the president of UEMEA, the Universal Education and Multicultural Association, to offer a word of thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can keep silent, where is the what happened to the Please take a seat. Please take a seat. Cut your noise down a little bit because Alan will be speaking.
Thanks, Louise. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity to offer a vote of thanks to each of everyone of you this afternoon for your presence at the Queensland Women's Week celebration. Thank the team from University of Education and Multicultural Exchange Association and the Queensland Community Development Association for hosting this wonderful event. I would like to thank our amazing MC, Lee OAM, and the conference of anti-peggy Parliament for the wonderful knowledge for country. Thank you, Andria. President Huang for QCDA for welcome speech. Thanks from Perrett MP, Federal Member for Morton, and Kim Max, Councillor for Roncon Wood. Stephen Huang, Councillor for Margarita Wood, for your address. Thanks Abiba, Andria, Chen Wang, and Grace Yu for your speeches. Thanks Becky Fund and Abiba for your spectacular performance. Thanks Amanda and Tiana and their team at the Robertson Garden for your expansion services and for providing manifest venues. Special thanks to Perrett MP, venue member for Morton, James Martin MP, state member for Stratford, and Stephen Huang, councillor for Margarita Woods, for sponsorship this event. Thanks also community leader Grace Yu, Anita Huang, and Jesse Huang for sponsoring this event. Thanks to Shu Fensheng, Stanley Xu, and James Zhou, who are interested about public service activities for sponsoring this event. Thanks to all UEMEA and QCDA members and volunteers for your hard work for Queensland Women's Week celebration. It's a great honor for both associations to host this event on this day. Women are an important component of family. Harmony is our associate and the most important cornerstone of economic development is our associate. Last but not least, congratulations to the outstanding woman received the prestigious award. We sincerely looking forward to more women as a particular taking in the social activities of social harmony and the multicultural exchange. Wish our families be happy and our associates be more beautiful. On behalf of the University Education and Multicultural Exchange Association and Queensland Community Development Association, we would like to thank you all for your continued support and attendance. Thanks all.
Thank you. Good on you, Alan. Now I was asked to ask all the sponsors to come to the stage. Can I ask Grace Liu? Can I ask all the sponsors? Perrett? Right? Okay. Can I ask all the sponsors? Anita, James, Joe, Stephen Huang, Councillor King Marx, Jesse Huang. Who else? Come, surrender. James, Joe, take a photo. Come. Come along. With the sponsors. These are all our sponsors. Have I missed any sponsor, Richard? Alan? Anybody else? Grandparent, but he had to go. We just have to do Photoshop and put his person somewhere.
Quick section.
Sasha represents grandparent. Come on. Sasha represents grandparent. These are all our sponsors. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for their enormous contribution. We wouldn't be able to host this event to fruition without their support, their continued support. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.